Sir, we are live, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon, all the participants. Welcome to this live session. Okay, so I will take the questions which are there in the Excel sheet or the Google form that was shared with you, and based on that, I will take questions one by one, and later on you can I will take questions which are there on the chat box. So you can write your questions on the chat box, and I will try to address as many as possible. Okay, so let me start with the first question, which was there in the Google form. It is from Krishiv S. Rana. So, Krishiv, are you there? Uh, can the participant interact, or is it only one way? Uh, way is it only one way communication, or can the participant ask question and interact with me? Can anyone say that talk something?
Sir, it's a two-way, sir. Students also is joined in Zoom.
Okay, they have joined and they can ask
They
questions
can
with
ask
me.
questions, yeah.
Thank you, thank you
Even though
very
in the
much.
YouTube also in chat it will be there. Any questions? Can I share the
So,
YouTube link, sir?
uh, I am seeing my chat box on the Zoom, and right now there are no messages. I cannot see. So, will it be that I will be seeing the messages in my chat box in the Zoom platform? Can anyone of my TAs, Jasmine, Amina, Pooja, please can you try to write something in the chat box and let me see whether I can see, or you can talk over the. Uh, yes, Jasmine, I can see your message. Uh, okay, can anyone participant also write in the chat box? Can any participant unmute himself or herself and talk? Uh, I'm not able to hear any participant, and uh, can anyone talk from the participants?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. So who is this?
So it's me, Amina. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah. I mean, so I can hear you, but not any other participant. Uh, can you please ensure that the participant can talk and I can hear? Uh, is there someone in the NPTEL who is hearing me?
Yes, sir.
So no participant is able to talk. Can you just check whether they are able to talk to me?
Oh, 1 second, sir.
Because in the Zoom I can see only 4 participants.
Sir, I have shared the Google Sheets, a doc Google form. There
Mhm.
is some of students are asked questions.
No,
Can you explain?
I can answer that question, but I also want to interact with the students. Is it not possible?
Yes, there is no students joined yet.
Oh, no, there's no student joined
Yeah.
on YouTube also.
YouTube is almost is 80 students are watching.
So they are just watching. They
95
are
plus 100. Yes, yes, sir.
okay. So they are just watching and they cannot interact with me,
No, no, sir.
right?
They can't. They can't.
Okay. And on Zoom, no one else has joined, right?
Joined. Yes, yes, sir, of course.
So
Yes.
has the link been shared with the students over there?
Uh, Monica,
So actually, the
Yeah, Anna.
students are writing here on
this is a
the
two-way
YouTube.
conversation or as a single way professors only is talking?
Anna,
Did you share the link to students, this one?
Zoom link. Yes, Anna. We have already posted announcement this morning also.
Yeah, for
No, you
students.
have not shared the Zoom link with the student, I guess. That is, they are asking. Please give us Zoom link. Over YouTube, they are asking them.
Okay, sir. I'll again post the link there. I'll again post the announcement now.
Yeah, so you can post it on the YouTube also, the link, if it is
Sure,
possible.
sure, 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 sure.
Anna, can
Because
we
if you
post it
see the
there?
message on the YouTube, they are writing that we don't have the link.
Yes, sir. We have shared the Zoom link there in the YouTube. Students will join.
Okay, I wait for a few minutes for them to join.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so now let's start. Okay, so uh, we will first take questions which were there shared in the form, and then we will answer the questions which you write in this chat box in over the Google, Zoom platform, right? So we'll use the Zoom platform for this meeting. Okay, so from the form that was shared, right? I take the first question. It is from Krishiv S. Rana. Is Krishiv here? So we can take that question later on. Then let me take the question from Tushar Pradhan. Is Tushar there? Uh, okay, Tushar is also not there. So I wait for some time. Is Shiv Raj Babar there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, so let me take your question. Sir, please can you elaborate on the hypercube, prime implicant, essential prime implicant, and prime cover? Okay, so see, it will take some time to explain all of them in detail, but I will just give you a gist of it, right? And if you have specific questions, then you can ask. Okay. So first, let me explain what is a hypercube. So hypercube is nothing but a representation of a Boolean function in some other way, right? So some other way. So you can represent a Boolean function in truth table form also, right? But it is a tabular form, right? But we want to represent in some other form so that some Boolean operation or minimization of Boolean function, those become more intuitive, right? That is the whole purpose of using the hypercube representation, right? Now, what is a hypercube representation? So in a hypercube representation, we have a, a three-dimensional or n-dimensional cube in which the corners represent the minterms, right? So, for example, in the truth table also, each row correspond to one minterm, right? For example, if there is a three variables in a truth table, then 0, 1, 0 represent, suppose these variables are A, B, C, then it represent A bar, B, C bar, right? 0, 1, 0, right? So that is the minterm is represented by this row in a truth table. Similarly, that particular row is represented in a hypercube at its corner, right? So all the minterms are represented in a specific corner, right? So that is the first part of what is a hypercube, right? The second part is that what is a prime implicant, right? So hope you understand what is an implicant, right? So an implicant should cover only those corners which are ones or don't care, right? Onset or the don't care set. It should never cross or touch a zero set, right? Or offset, right? So that is the definition of implicant. Now, what is a prime implicant? So prime implicant is an implicant which is not covered by any other implicant, right? So meaning that fully covered, right? So it may happen that one corner of a prime implicant is covered by another prime implicant also, but all the corners of which are covered by a given implicant or is never covered by any other implicant. If we get that implicant, then we say that it is a prime implicant, right? So that was the question on prime implicant, right? Then what is your question? Then you have asked question on essential prime implicants, right? Now, if now a given Boolean function can be covered by many prime implicants, and if there is a prime implicant such that at least one corner is covered by only that prime implicant and no other prime implicant, then the given prime implicant is known as a essential prime implicant. What it implies is that if we are finding a cover in which the cover is consisting only of prime implicant, then we cannot leave that prime implicant which is covering at least at least one corner and no other prime implicant is covering, right? So it means that the essential prime implicant will always be there in a prime cover, right? So that is the definition of essential prime implicant. And then your question is prime cover. So prime cover is very simple thing. So a cover in which all the implicants are prime implicants, that is known as a prime cover, right? So these are the definitions of that, and the illustration of these definitions are there in the video lectures. Now, if you have any particular question on these terms, then please feel free to ask.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Do you have any further question or is it fine?
Is it fine, sir? Thank you, sir.
Okay, okay, thank you. So let me take the next question. Is Maria Punya there? Okay. Is Anshuman Mishra there?
Yes, sir, I'm here. Good
Okay,
afternoon.
so yeah, good afternoon. So let me take your question. What is the scope of VLSI and semiconductor industry in India? What skills one must have to break into the industry with as a fresher? Okay. So what is the scope of VLSI and semiconductor industry in India? So if you mean by scope as employment opportunities, then I think there's lot, right? At this point of time, there is understaffing in most of the semiconductor companies which are there in India, and with time, there will be more requirement of engineers which are required in VLSI or semiconductor industry because it is growing in India, right? And with various initiatives by the government and various kind of facilities which are being planned to be coming up, like semiconductor fabs and so on, I think there is a ecosystem which is developing in India, and with time I think there will be a very large requirement of VLSI engineers and semiconductor engineers, right? So the if you ask what is the scope, it is very bright, right? That is what is my first answer will be. The next question is what skills one must have to break into the industry with as a fresher, right? So the skills that is needed for VLSI industry or semiconductor industry are that you should be you should have a very solid foundation on the concepts which are related to VLSI and semiconductors. Now, what are these solid concepts or which are the topics which are of particular interest to VLSI and semiconductor industry, right? So if you talk of an undergraduate curriculum, then the most important thing is the digital circuits, right? So the concepts related to digital circuits, such as such as what are various types of logic gates, multiplexers, demultiplexers, flip-flops, latches, how you can build various kinds of circuits like counters and those kind of things. What is finite state machines? How can you implement finite state machines? And these kind of things are basic things of digital circuits we should know, right? This is the first thing which topic which you should be very well conversant with, right? And then you should be conversant on basic electronics. Basic electronics meaning that what are capacitors, inductors, resistors, and if we apply certain voltages, how a circuit will react to it, right? And also what are basic electronic components, for example, what are MOSFETs, diodes, PN junction, and if we apply voltages, how they will react to that, right? And what will be the behavior of these circuit elements. So these are something which are taught at the first year and second year level courses, which you should be very thorough on, right? So if you don't cross this limit, right, this is a kind of minimum threshold. If you are failing in this threshold, then the moving further will be very difficult, right? So first thing is that these basic concepts which are taught in the first year and second year of electronics, of digital circuits, analog circuits, devices, that you should be very thorough. Then comes the skill set of designing, right? And designing various kind of circuits. Now, for designing various kinds of circuits, you need two important things. The first thing is the basics of the circuits or the things that you are designing, and the second is some experience or skill set in using the tools and taking help of the tools in designing your circuit, right? So the basic part is that you should be knowing that what is VLSI design flow, what is synthesis, what the things that we are covering in this course, VLSI design flow, RTL to GDS, you should at least know those things, right? That the basic theoretical understanding of this concept. Then you should have some experience of the running the tools, right? For example, if can you write a Verilog model for a given counter, right, or a flip-flop, and can you synthesize it using logic synthesis tool? Can you do a static timing analysis, right? Can you generate a netlist, right? Once you have generated the netlist, can you take it to placement and routing? Do you understand what is a layout, right? So these are some of the things which are skill oriented, and you should be knowing these things at least some basic level, and at least you should have some experience of that, right? So uh, these things you should be knowing at, say, if you are at the BTech level, you should be knowing at the third year. By the end of third year, you should be knowing the basic concepts of the circuits and also of designing, and you should also know some basic concepts of CMOS circuits. CMOS circuit meaning that what is a CMOS inverter, on what factors the delay of an inverter depends on, right? On what factors the power dissipation in a CMOS inverter depends on, right? How can you design a NAND gate using CMOS as MOSFETs, right? NMOS and PMOS, right? So these are some of the things that are taught typically in third year curriculum, and you should try to grasp the basics of that. And in the fourth year, or the final year of your undergraduate curriculum, you should try to do some project, which is a bigger project, right? Now, many students ask this question about the project. What should we do for a project, right? So with the understanding of and experience of running the tool of, say, VLSI design flow course and others, you will be able to at least design a very small circuit. A small circuit meaning, say, a half adder, a full adder, right? Or a multiplexer, or a counter, right? So these things are very easy to write a Verilog code, synthesize it, do a timing analysis, and see what the results are. Now, in the project, you can take the same thing and take it to the next level, right? There is nothing new here, right? What you can do is that now combine these components. For example, you can combine counter, flip-flops, and different kinds of adders, multipliers, and other things to make a kind of an ALU, right? ALU is doing a processing or doing a computation of what you give as an input, right? So you can think of designing a calculator, right, in which you can have a two input and an operator as an input, and it produces the correct output. For example, multiplication, division, multiply, and so on. Once you have made a ALU, right, then you can go and make some FSM. FSM is you draw certain states, and based on that states you write a Verilog code, right? Now, if you are facing problem in writing these Verilog codes, you can also take help of many things which are available over internet, right? Now, Chat GPT is one of the things which is very easy to use, right? But be aware that sometimes it gives wrong result. But if you write an input to Chat GPT that give me a Verilog code for a counter, it will give you a code. It may be sometimes wrong also, but many a times it will be correct, right? But your task is to use the tool and use it for designing. So you can get a Verilog code from either downloading it or from some chat GPT or other, even your friend, and then do a synthesis for that. Once you do the synthesis, then you can take that netlist to physical design. Assume that this is my floor plan, right? So you can take help of the tutorials that are discussed in this course, right? So you can take help of the tool, right? So the Open Road and Yosys and others which are discussed in this course, and using those tools, you can make the layout right? Layout of a counter, you can make layout of an ALU, of a calculator, or even RISC processor. If you have the code, see now the code for RISC processor you can download from internet, right? There are GitHubs where you will get this thing. Once you have very low code, take it through synthesis, right? You have to work on that. There will be it is not a push button thing. You will have errors. You will need to have find solution. You need to find solution and work over it. Once you face problem and solve it, then only you will be able to learn, right? So once you take one floor plan and take your netlist through the placement, routing, clock tree synthesis, and final GTS, you get the entire experience from the top level Verilog to the final stage of your layout, right? Now this kind of projects can be done in your fourth year, right? Fourth year of your UG curriculum. And during this time, if you should try to get some internship. If you are lucky, you can get it. If your institute where you are studying that has some that facilitates it, then it will be great. Even if you don't get an internship, don't worry, right? You should carry out these experiments on your own, right? It will always enhance your understanding, and wherever you get a chance to show your understanding or appear for interview and others, where all these experience will be useful. Understand that resume, writing anything on resume helps only when you have actually experience on that. Writing on resume without getting the actual experience is of no use, right? So don't try to build a very heavy resume. Resume may be light, but your experience will actually matter when you are going for interviews and others. And try to focus on actual experience, learning, and fighting with the help of the tool. Meaning that if you find error, try to solve that error yourself, right? It will give you confidence also, and your learning will also be right. So during your final years, you should try to do these things. And over internet, there are many things, many resources available, right? And you can take help of that and try to learn this thing on your own, and always have a kind of try to build linkages with your seniors, either wherever you are studying, right, or wherever you have met or so on. Because if you want to go to VLSI industry, the best way to get assimilated or absorbed in the VLSI industry is through the referrals, right? If you have some good friends, right, or your seniors, right, who are there in the VLSI industry, or if you have some faculty or your advisor who has some who can actually refer you to the VLSI industry, that will be great, right? Because many a times the hiring happens through that way, right? If you don't have that, don't worry, right? There are other ways also to do that through the portals, through the application, through the directly to the companies and so on. But those are weaker options than through the referrals. So try to build that connections, right? Practically, that will be really helpful. But before doing that, the first groundwork is build the basics in your first year and second year, and in third year build the skill set, and in the fourth year get actual experience of the project. Resume matters only after you have done the actual designing and you have real experience, right? So these are some of the suggestions that how you can do well in the VLSI industry. Okay, hope I answered your question, Anshuman.
Yes, sir. Just one more thing. Right now, the situation is I am actually preparing for GATE 2025 right now to in order to like take up some of the MTech programs at any of the IITs. So, if at all I plan to join a PSU job offered through GATE, is there still a chance to like be able to break in the industry, or you know, to build some sort of connection for that matter?
See, you should be more focused on what are your goals, right? So if your goal is to higher studies, and if your goal is to go into VLSI industry specifically, I will suggest joining a PSU will not help, right? Because that will divert your attention, right? If your focus is on joining a VLSI industry, right? That is, if your prime motivation is, I will suggest that if you get a very good GATE score, join an IIT or a very good institution, join the field of VLSI, and do well in your curriculum in your MTech. And once you do good in your curriculum, you will be easily get a VLSI job and meet your target, right? So according to me, joining a PSU, which is, if the PSU is related to VLSI, then of course it will help, right? But if it is not, then it is diverting your attention. Okay. Hope
Yes,
I
sir.
answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So let me take the next question. Is Aniket there? Aniket Pachori? Yeah, so anyway, if Aniket is not there, let me take his question. So the question was that what type of questions can we expect in exam, and will they be similar to the weekly assignment questions, right? So this type of questions many students ask, many participants ask. Therefore, I am answering this question. So the questions that will be in the exam will be on the pattern of the assignments, right? So I will suggest that go through the assignment questions carefully, right? And the pattern will be the same, right? So the it will be multiple choice. It will not be four options only. It may have more than four. Some questions may have four options also, right? It's similar to what we have in the in the assignments. And you should go over the study lectures carefully, and also the assignments which are given to you, right? That will be helpful in your. Okay, so let me go to the next question. Okay, so is Vena Pusa Bhanu Prakash there? Is Jasmine Ladwa there? Okay, so is P Narun Ram there? Okay, so is Sahana G there? Okay, is Sekhar S there? Is Gautam Prashant there? Is Sunapuram Kiran Kumar there? Is Prerak Gupta there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me take your question. What kind of projects can be made after completion of this course, which can be included in resume and levels industry standards, right? So I have already answered this question. If you have any further thing to ask, please let me know.
No, sir. I got my answer.
Okay, thank you very much. Is Vinesh Modi there? Is G Hemant Kumar there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you have asked four questions. Okay, so let me take one by one. We have covered verification methods like functional verification, but how do we verify something as complex as a processor? There are so many components like the instruction set, cache, etc. What the approach to handle all of that? Okay. So for complicated system like a processor, right? So the strategy is similar but not the same, right? So what we do is that we use simulation to verify the behavior, right? But since the space or the number of possibilities of giving the input is too high, we have to we have to intelligently do functional verification in the search space which is which we want, right? So various kinds of strategies are there. One of the primary strategy is using constrained random generation, right? So we generate vectors, right? We generate vectors. So we generate vectors using random constrained random method using languages such as System Verilog, right? And then we use a functional coverage model, right, to verify that or to understand that which all portion of my functionality is covered by the random verification, and which are not covered, we apply certain test stimulus or targeted test stimulus to further do the verification, right? So these are some of the ways. And on the a portion of the design which is highly critical, there we will probably use the formal verification methods such as assertion based method and so on. So this is a very crude description of a very top level description of how the functionality can be verified for processors. But there are other ways in to tackle this problem which we have not covered in this course. For example, at the higher level of abstraction, we use what is known as transaction level modeling, and we use transaction level modeling to do fast simulation, right, or more efficient simulation, and verify that whether things are operating correctly or not. So, and again, there are various layers of abstraction to do it in more practical way, and also interact with the software, right? For if you are designing a processor, at the end, the processor will execute a code which will be coming from software. So how the software and hardware are integrated, that needs to be verified. So there are many other techniques at the higher level of abstraction which are used at the verification at the system level, or which we have not covered in this course, which will be needed to verify such kind of system. Okay. So let me take your next question. From a career point of view, after my undergrad, which path is better for VLSI? Doing an MTech or going for MBA? Okay. What do you think works best for the industry? Right. So I will suggest that if you are going into a technical role, that will be better to do an MTech, right? Though there are typically in VLSI industry, people from the technical side only rise to the managerial level and so on. There are a few entries directly from the MBA, but those are rather rare, right? So if your goal is to go into the VLSI side, I will suggest that going for the MTech will be more preferable than doing an MBA, because there are MBA is another kind of skill set, right? Which is not domain specific. So if you have done an MBA, you can apply those skill set not only in VLSI but many other areas, right? For example, marketing and other things which are not exactly in the domain of VLSI, right? But if your focus is to work in the VLSI domain, I will suggest that you do an MTech in a VLSI area. That will be more suitable, right? Though the arena of MBA is much larger, the overlap with VLSI is much smaller, right? And therefore, if your goal is to go into VLSI, that is not a preferred. Okay. Now let me into the next question. What exactly is TL Verilog STL? How is it different from regular Verilog, and how does it help when designing something like a process? So again, these things is not covered in this course. So I will suggest that please look into the material from where you got this term TL Verilog. So it is transaction level, right? For transaction level modeling, system C is one of the preferred way of modeling, right? What would be the good point of TL Verilog? Please refer to the book or the material from where you got this term TL Verilog. And then you have, since this is the part of NPTEL initiative, are there any chances for internship for top performers? Like the top 5% of the students, how does that work? Right? So typically it depends on the professor. So in this case, me, whether I want to take an intern or not, right? So you can apply to the or you can send your application to the NPTEL, right? You can query from support or somewhere how to do the application. I also don't know. So there will be some way through which you can send an application to the NPTEL. Then NPTEL forwards to me if I'm interested in any that resume to me, and in case I'm interested, then it can move forward, right? Last year I didn't have a good experience, right? So I had chosen one of the toppers from one of our good colleges as an intern, and that intern couldn't had to leave within a few days, right? So he didn't continue the internship with me after 15 days or so, right? So I didn't have a good experience. So the problem with the internship offering is that I have no control, right? I am, so a student comes to my institute, and I offer the internship. I give the task to that person. That student works for 15 days, and after 15 days, the student leaves without telling me anything, right? I have no control at all, right? In that case, that I asked that student, he just said, sir, I was not feeling healthy at that place, and that's why I am leaving, right? After I send an invite, a reminder after 15 days, he didn't turn up, right? So because there is no grade requirement, right? Meaning that only thing that the person will lose if he doesn't do the internship, discontinues an internship in the middle, is that the student doesn't get the the benefit of internship that the NPTEL probably pays 5,000 per month or something like that. That he did not get. Otherwise, there was no penalty, right, for leaving or discontinuing or vanishing in the middle of the internship, right? Which doesn't happen for a student who is enrolled in the institute, right? You have, if the student doesn't do an internship, he or she can get an F grade, which can be harmful. But in this case, there is no control I have, right? That's why I do not encourage a lot of students to take internship. The other problem is that even if you do internship, it will be in person. I don't offer any internship, not even to my students or anyone else, in an online mode, right? If you want to do an internship, you have to be present in my institute. But the problem is that in our institute, we do not have accommodation for sufficient accommodation to for the interns, right, which may be coming, and that may, so you may have to find the accommodation on your own. So these are some of the challenges on the difficulties from the side of interns also, and challenges and problems from my side also, and that's why it is not materializing, right? But you can try. You can send your application to the NPTEL if you are interested. But beware that there is no accommodation at IIIT Delhi for the interns. I think that will not be possible to give, right? And the second thing is that it will be in the offline mode. I don't entertain online mode internship, right? If you are okay with that type of constraint, you can send email to the NPTEL person. They will forward to me. I will take an interview. If I agree and find it good enough, then I can offer an internship. Okay. So, Is it fine, Hemant? I answered all your 4 questions. Hemant, do you have any further question?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
So
sir.
let me take the next question. Yeah. So is Avnish Kumar there? Okay. Is Pradeep Nayak there? Is Anuj Kumar Jha there? Okay, so is there any student who had already sent me the question and I didn't take up his or her question in answering?
Sir, Pradeep is there, sir.
Okay, so let me go to Pradeep. Pradeep Nayak, right? So your question is, how
Yes, sir.
should we prepare for the online exam and what should be our main focus? So I have already answered this question. So you should focus on the pattern will be on the assignment. So you should look into the questions which were there in the assignment. Similar types of questions will be asked in the online exam, and go through the lecture material carefully. Go through the lecture, not only the PDF. PDF doesn't give you the complete information. So go through the PDF, sorry, the lecture material, the lectures carefully, maybe a couple of times, and you should go through the assignments and do those things by your own and understand the concepts, right? So that these things will help you in the online exam.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Is there any other student whose question I didn't answer and has already sent me the form?
Yes, sir, Jhalak this side. I asked you a question, but you didn't entertain the question.
What is your name?
Sir, Jhalak.
I don't see your name in my Google form.
I actually sent it during the lecture. Can I ask it again?
Okay, you have just now sent it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's why I had taken it before, just before I started the online session. Okay, so you can ask your question.
Sir, if I want to be a CAD engineer and VLSI, then which basic languages do I need to focus on?
So if you want to be a CAD engineer, right, there are 2 areas where people go in CAD. One is on the side of development, right, where you develop the CAD tools, right, and the other area is the application of those CAD tools, right? So which area are you more interested in?
Sir, I'm more interested into the development area, into coding
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. So if you are interested into coding, the most important language will be C++. Okay. So that will be the most important language which you should be familiar and try to gain as much expertise into the C++, and also its the OOPS concept, object-oriented programming, right? So you must be familiar with inheritance, polymorphism, virtual function, all those kind of things, right? So in language, you should be focusing on C++. Of course, before learning C++, you should also know C, right? But most of the code that are there that are used in the CAD tools, those are C++ based, right? Other than that, you should also try to learn a little bit of Python and Tcl. That will also help. And the second most important thing is the data structure, right? So you should have very good concept of data structure, meaning what are lists, stacks, queues, graphs, trees, and those kind of things you should know very well. What is sorting algorithm, searching algorithm, and those what are orders of those algorithms, right? What do you mean by ON? What is ON square? And those kind of things. So these things will be really important, because whenever you design any algorithm inside the CAD tool, you have to worry about these details of the algorithm, how will it perform when the n or the number of the number of computation increases or number of circuit element increases and so on. So you should be familiar with data structure and algorithms very well, right? So these are some of the things you should focus.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Is anyone else whose question I did not take and you have sent on the Google form? Okay, so now I will take questions from the chat box, right? So I take question one by one. Okay, so let me start. Uh, they the they Prasad Mohanty is asking, as a fresher, how to do effective floor plan, right? Okay, so this is not related to fresher, right? So anyone who wants to make an effective floor plan, how to do that, right? So what do you mean by floor plan? The floor plan means basically packing things as closely in a tight area such that the objectives are fulfilled. For example, what are the PPM measures? Those are improved, and the cost like wiring, delay, those are minimized, right? That is the whole idea of floor plan, right? So these things will come from experience, right? These things will come from experience. And as a fresher, what you should do is that you should try to get experience, and to do that, you should pick a, a circuit in which there are, say, 5 to 10 blocks, right? For example, you have a circuit in which you have counters, you have register bank, you have a few adders, multipliers. These are separate blocks, and try to fit it in different ways, right? Try to reduce the die size and see how the floor plan changes. Do experiments, change the location of the IO pads, right? So wherever the inputs are coming, if you make it them further, what happens, right? Change the relative position of different blocks, what happens, right? So once you do that, take when you perturb your floor plan or change your floor plan, see what happens down the flow, meaning that not only at the floor plan stage, what happens after placement, what happens after routing, right? What happens to timing, what happens to power, what happens to area, right? So do experiments by changing things and looking into what impact did that change have, right? And you assess that impact, and that will be basically your learn. And as you do this multiple times, you will be able to become a very well floor planner, right? And of course there are books. You can take help of my book, which I have referred in the lectures. There are other also books which are talking about floor plan algorithm, right? You can look into those algorithms also to understand that as a algorithmically how the floor plan can be improved and other things, right? So those things will help, right? If you have access to any commercial tools, like for example tools from Cadence or Synopsys, right? Then you should experiment using those tools, right? Rather than the open road tools and so on, which are open source, right? So the commercial tools have many other options than which are not typically available on these open source tools. So you will have many other options to work on many other things which you can change in your floor plan and experiment, and then your learning will be much more or more solid, right? So these are some of the ways in which you can become a effective floor planner. Okay. Hope I answered your
Uh,
question there, Prasad.
yeah, thank you, sir, giving me that answer.
Okay.
Actually,
Okay.
sir, I have the access of Innovus tool also, and I
Yes.
have a project of 29 macro.
Uh,
So every time, actually, when I did that so many errors actually coming up. So and adding to another question, so means as a fresher, means in which step we should get into to the industry is easy, means but the floor plan, I think it will be very experienced people they hired actually. So as a fresher, so which
So,
stage we should get into?
so what I will suggest, if you are a BTech student, I hope you are BTech or MTech student.
Yes, MTech students. Sir.
Okay. So if you are MTech student, I will suggest that don't focus on one particular area that to get into a VLSI industry, right? The first thing, you should have a wide experience, right? Now, floor plan is just a small subset of physical design, right? So you should say that I want to go into physical design. Physical design means
Yes, sir.
floor planning, placement, routing, clock tree synthesis, then physical verification, DRC, ERC, LVS, parasitic extraction, and all those things. So you should look into all those things together, right? Not just focus on floor plan, right? That will be the first advice I will give you, right? And use this tools if you have access to Innoverse. It is very good. Experiment these tools, right? And gain experience on all entire physical design flow, not only the floor planning part, but the entire flow, right? That you should understand, right? And don't, at the MTech stage, I will say that don't be too focused in one area, that I want to do only physical design. Learn about synthesis also. Learn about RTL also. Learn also about simulation. About and learn about static timing analysis, right? So timing analysis is very important, which is not only used in the logic synthesis, but also in physical design everywhere, right? So you should work on static timing analysis. That is very, very important, right? So these things are, so at the MTech level, right? And if you are trying to get a break into VLSI industry, I will say that don't be too much focused in one particular area, because you never know that you will get an interview call in which area, right? And therefore keep your mind open and try to uh, be an expert, or at least somewhat well conversant in the entire flow from RTL to GDS. And if you give, say, 6 month time, I think it is sufficient to go to a level which is expected by any recruiter, right? They do not expect that you are an expert, right? The first thing is that don't think that they hire expert. The most the recruiter look into that, whether you are able to be able to do a job which will they will be assigning to you, right? They are not expecting you that you will be able to do the job from the first day, right? They are expecting it you that within the course of time, whenever they are giving you a job, they will be able to get output from you. That is what the expectation of a recruiter is. And to judge whether a candidate is hireable or not, the recruiter typically looks at your basic skills, not at your expert skills, right? So don't think that that person get hired because he has an expert. That person get hired at the entry level because his basics or her basics are very good. So always concentrate on your basic electronics, digital circuits, and other things, because if you don't do good into that area, then you will not be even shortlisted, right? So concentrate on the basic steps of physical design also. Now, what is the basic concept of in physical design? The basic concept in physical design is that how is the delay impacted if I change the wireless, right? This is the very basic concept. Now, if you know this kind of concept, then you are more likely hireable than if you know the concept, the command which is there in Innomus, which you click, then the float plan will be done. That is not the expectation of the recruiter. That is an easy skill to get. The difficult part is getting a good basic, right? That is where there is a lack in the engineers which are coming out from the universities. The basic skills are not there. If you have basic skills and your basic understanding correct, you will be hireable, right? So my suggestion will be, don't go be overboard on getting an expert skill. No recruiter at the entry level expects that you are an expert. If a recruiter is expecting that, the expectation is wrong. Probably that recruiter will realize it sooner or later, right? So my only advice to you is that concentrate on your basic concepts, right? And then you will become a higher. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Let me take the next question. Purushottama, what verification strategies do you recommend for complex designs? I have already covered this. If you have any further question, you can ask. Okay. Voice is polygon. Okay. Purushottama, what verification? So Purushottama, do you have any further question to what I have already answered? Okay. What is metadata in IP? Okay, in an IP is intellectual property, right? Metadata means data of a data, right? That is what a metadata is. So if my IP is, say, a CPU, right? Now, the metadata for a CPU can be that what is the width of the address bus, right? That is the data about the data, right? Or where is the RTL file for this particular processor? That is the data about the data, right? The data is contained in the RTL file, but where is that RTL file? That is data about the data, which is a kind of a metadata, right? So these are the for an IP we for IP we and need to populate or save the metadata and use it in IP assembly, right? For example, in SoC design flow. And these metadata are in various formats. For example, there is one format called IP exact, which is common in the industry, in which this metadata is stored, right? There are other formats people use, right? For that, even Excel sheet can be a way of storing the metadata, and so. So hope I answered your question, Jyotirmay. Vikas Kumar. Sir, I have questions. I lose first criteria to get certificate due to health issues. How am I now get it? So I think please write these questions to NPTEL support. They may consider it. I have no control over it. This is decided by the official policy of NPTEL, and they take care of these kind of official things. Swati Kotuju. Hi sir, is this certificate is valid to get job offer after BTech, or do I need to go for paid course below 28 nm technology? See, is valid to, what do you mean by valid to get job? Is Swati there? Can you hear me, Swati Kotoju? See, the certificate from NPTEL is a certificate. It is up to the recruiter to consider at whatever value they want, right? The same is for the certificate given for an institute, by an institute, right? If an institute gives a BTech certificate, it is up to the recruiter to take it in its call that how much value it is worth it, right? Similarly, all these certificates are valid, right? Similarly, even if you get a certificate from a paid course, right? There are now so many paid course on coaching a student, right? Now, uh, uh, I now they will give you also a certificate. Now it is up to the recruiter how much value they give to the certificate of a coaching institute, right? So all these are valid certificates, right? Meaning that they are issued from some institute or an organization which is registered somewhere, and therefore they are valid, right? Now, what is the importance of that certificate? It is up to the recruiter to take their call, right? Rahul, I took a course last year and thoroughly enjoyed it. I also have your book, which has been a good source for learning about all the domains of real estate. Okay, so Rahul, do you have any question or is it just a comment? Okay, Divya, hello sir. My question is, in the ideal condition, it is possible to fulfill setup and hold conditions. But in practical circuit, how can we achieve it? Because both the conditions are almost opposite to each other. So this question was asked in one of the forum also, right? So is Divya there? If Divya, you are there, then you can
Yes, sir.
unmute yourself and ask your question. I can explain you in a better way.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So see the condition for the setup and holds are not the same, right? So there is a required time, there is an arrival time in both the situations, right? But what is the value of required time and what is the value of arrival time? Those are different for the setup analysis and for the hold analysis. And therefore, in real circuit, both these conditions must be met, right? And why we can meet both the condition? Because the setup requirement is being checked at the next clock edge, right? And therefore, the required time is different, right? And the hold requirement is checked at the same clock edge, right? And therefore, the required time is different, right? And therefore, we will be able to meet both the setup and hold constraint. So the setup is saying that the arrival time should be less than this, right? And the hold is saying that the arrival time should be more than this. So if the arrival time is something between setup and hold requirement, my requirement is fulfilled. Both my requirements are fulfilled, right? So the STA tool will ensure or it will check that your arrival time is between the requirement of the setup check and the hold check, right? That is a very crude analysis or in which I can explain that why both these conditions can be fulfilled. Okay. Are you, did you understand, Divya, or there are still some problems?
No, sir. I got the point. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Shri, sir, I feel difficulty in understanding TCL commands during physical design stage. Can you suggest me some source to learn it? So, Shri, are you there? Okay. So, Shri, I hope you have looked into the initial tutorials in which the TCL was discussed, right? So TCL is a language, right, which is a scripting language, and it is very easy to learn, right? So I will suggest that first look into the tutorials of TCL if you have not looked into. If you have looked into it, then go over the material which are available on the internet. There are so many websites on the internet or which are saying that tutorial on TCL, right? So you should learn those learn those tutorials or go through that tutorial. It will help you learn the language, right? And I will suggest that you write a few simple programs, right? Simple programs like find the prime numbers between 0 to 100, right? Print out all the numbers using tickle command, right? So you use only tickle script to do this computation, right? So you can use you can write a sorting algorithm, searching algorithm in tickle, right? Try to do that. It will help you gain some experience and confidence in the tickle language, right? So I will suggest that first is go through the tutorial of NPTEL. Second is go through the material or tutorial available over internet. Third is practice. Write your own tickle code and run over the tickle, right? Then you will get confidence, and then doing tickle in your physical design will become very easy. Okay. Vikash Kumar, if practice your provide question set is enough for exam, so the concepts are enough. Practice is practice is insufficient in whatever inputs we give, right? So if your concepts are clear, it is enough, right? If your concepts are not, then you need to build that. So concept is very important rather than the practice. Your course certificate is very important for me and other co-friend to grow and get job in semiconductor. I think it is just a comment, right? Kiran, sir, how can add macros in placement? So you can specify the location of the macros X and Y coordinate directly during the floor plan, and it will be occupying that that macro position, right? So you will say that these are fixed macros, and you will not allow the tool to change its position, right? This is how the macro placement can be done. Vikash again, sir, I have a question and doubts, sir. So where is that question? I didn't see. Jhalak, sir, I want to be CAD. I already answered. Shamil, sir, how long will be the internship? So if you are talking about NPTEL in an internship, it is of 3 months or 6 months duration. Mayuri Kulkarni, sir, on which topics review and research paper be written for being selected PhD entrance interview, being a beginner? So Mayuri, are you there?
Yes, sir.
So I didn't understand your question. What is your question?
Actually, I wanted to ask if we want to study VLSI and want to create a review paper, on which topic it should be begin with.
So you are writing a paper. So what is the purpose of that paper?
Sir, actually, I have qualified UGC NET. So if I want to appear in an interview for PhD entrance, so what should I possess so I get selected? So for
So
that, I
I
would
don't know
like to write a
about.
review paper. So on which topic I should write?
So there is no as such. See, I don't know whether it is a requirement for all institute to write a review paper in their PhD admission, right? So for example, in our institute, there is no such requirement. It is based on the interview, right? And whatever you have got the marks in your MTech, based on that you get shortlisted, and the interview is the selection process for the PhD, right? That is what the typical flow is. And research paper requirement of writing a review paper is not there in our institute, right? Now, if there is requirement in any other institute, you should try to focus on the topic on which the faculty at that particular institute is working, right? So depending on, so you shouldn't write one review paper, right? You should have multiple review papers depending on which area you want to work, right? Whether it is in the front end, back end, STA, whatever, right? Verification, functional verification, formal verification. There are so many domains. So I will suggest that go through the profile of the professors or faculty in which you are of the university where you are applying for PhD, and try to write a review paper based on the interest of the faculty of that particular institute. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sir, please explain required time, hold Slack and set up Slack once more. See, it will take one lecture, right? So that much time we don't have. Yasina, so can you be more specific? If you have any particular doubt, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll say that go through the lecture on static timing analysis again. That will probably clear your doubts, right? If you have any specific question, I can take it. Okay. Is Yasina there? QWERTY. Okay. Sir, what are the companies in the Vilasai field for freshers to look for? Since I am a BE final student, what they expect? I have already covered this QWERTY. So if you have any further question, please ask. Are you there, QWERTY? Okay. So let me go to the next question. Piyush. Sir, my question is, how do we know that a synthesized netlist is correct as intended? What are the different parameters to check the correctness of a netlist? This is a very good question, but I don't know how much time I have. But Piyush, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here, sir.
Yeah, so what do you mean by correctness?
Sir, suppose like for a small digital block, I made a digital block, say full header or half header. I wrote a Verilog code. Then I synthesized it using a DC compiler. So next, what is the like? How do I know that the netlist is like functionally correct? As
Yeah,
you can
so what is typically done is that we do combinational equivalence checking, right? So you might have seen lecture on combinational equivalence checking. If you have not seen, please go through that lecture, right? Have you gone through the lecture on combinational equivalence checking?
Yes, sir. I have.
So that is the whole purpose of combinational equivalence checking. So you have an RTL, which you know is a golden RTL, right? Which is known to be correct, right? And the netlist is the generated one. So now you can do a combinational equivalence checking between your RTL and the netlist. If they say that they are combinationally, they are equivalent, then your circuit is for sure correct, functionally, right?
Yes, sir.
So is that answers your question, or there was some other doubt?
Yes, sir. Now I'm satisfied with the answer. So yes, sir.
Okay. Indu, sir, for career break profiles, which domain will SI best? Like 10 years with master degree in VLSI. See, I think you should focus which domain is best. So if you think in terms of where the openings are, right? So the openings are right now at the functional verification level the most. That is what I see, right? So if you are working on the front end and on the functional verification side, there the job openings are the most, and from that perspective I'll suggest that that may be the best, right? But it also depends on your interest, right? So if just by getting a job is important, then I'll say that focus on Verilog simulation, right? Verilog simulation, writing test benches, and doing verification, assertion-based verification, and those kind of things, and doing static timing analysis, because job openings are more in those areas. Okay. Hope I answered your question, Indu. Shivraj Babar.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. My question is, which method is used in the industry to generate the HTL code? Are they write in manually or they do high level synthesis? And on which method we should emphasize as a fresher? Okay. So Shivraj, the answer is that none of them, right? So if you think of the RTL code, most of them at the SOC level, those are IP. It is neither manually written nor generated by HLS tool. It is the IP which has already been written by somewhere else, by some either in the same company or by same vendor, other vendor. They are imported and taken as it is in your design, right? So most of your RTL will be just reusing your existing RTL rather than doing manually writing RTL or the high level synthesis, right? So the now and which method we should emphasize as a fresher. So as a fresher, I will say that writing should be preferable, right? Because that develops you a greater skill set than the HL, right? Because if you write an HTL, you simulate it, right? And find problems in the HDL model and then fix it and then rerun the simulation and then this kind of iterative thing and the feedback that helps a great in your learning. So as a fresher, I will suggest that you should focus on writing RTL and then doing the simulation and analyzing whether simulation results are correct or not and changing your simulation results, sorry, simulation test bench, and also changing your Verilog code, how does it impact and so on. That is just for your generating or developing more skill set or a better skill set, right? So I will suggest that you should follow the other way. HLS is a automatic technique of generating an RTL, right? In which your learning will be not at the RTL level, but it will be more at the system level, right? For example, in HLS, the input that we give is, for example, a C code, right? And that C code will be automatically go through high level synthesis and an RTL code will be generated, right? Now, if that is the situation, then your input will be at the C level, right? The programming level C, where you will be giving various options to the tool, like where to do pipelining, where not to do, what should be the latency, whether this function should be inline or not inline, and those kind of things will be given as an input by the designer, and that is a different kind of learning than the manual doing the RT, right? So both has uses, but just for the learning purpose, I'll assume that, or I will suggest that writing RTL will give you more learning than the HLS tool level, and that is will be my suggestion. Okay, hope it answers your question, Sivraj.
Yes, sir. Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. Xiaomi. Okay. Sri, sir. Okay. Is there any designing experience required to work in Foundry? If so, how many years? So if you are thinking of designing from RTL to GDS, then probably that skill set will not be very much useful in the foundry, unless and until you are going into an area like mask making and other things where optical prosthetic correction, double patterning, and those kind of things, or DRC related things are important in the fab foundry. In those part, you are there. If you are going into full blown foundry where more your work is on the tasks such as ion implantation, oxidation, diffusion, those kind of things, then probably the design and the knowledge of design skills, or that is developed in this course, will not be of much use. Hope I answered your question, Xiaomi. Niyati, sir, I completed my MTech and had an experience of 1 year, 8 months in physical design in one of the companies, and then have a career gap of 2 years. There are less opportunities for me as I have a minimal experience. How could I reach for interviews? Is it like as a fresher or an experienced candidate mostly interested in backend? Please suggest ways to re-enter the industry. So, since you have an experience, Niyati, for 1 year's 8 month, 1 year 8 month is not a small time, right? So I will suggest that that you should put that information in your in your CV, right? That I have done this part, right? So you should highlight not only the company whichever you have done there this physical design for 1 year 8 months. You should also name the projects that you have done there, that you have done the layout of this part, you have done placement, you have done the routing. What specific task you have done, you should be able to list it out in your resume, and you should revise those things, right? So you should revise the things which you have already done. If you have access to open source tools, try to do or the commercial tools, try to redo those things at your own end, right? Try to freshen up whatever you have done earlier, right? If there was a break of 2 years, not a problem. But what the expectation of any recruiter will be, that you are still updated, right? You are not outdated, right? That is what they will be looking for. And therefore, you have to freshen up your skills, sharpen up your skills, and be as good as you were 2 years back, right? So revise all those things, right? And then approach as a experienced person. Why should you lose an experience of 1 year, 8 years? You should project yourself as a person who has an experience of 1 years 8 months, and that will be helpful, I think, in getting you a job, right? The important thing is again your skill, whether you are able to demonstrate the skill which you were there, which you used in your 1 year 8 months tenure. That is very important. You have to show the value of that experience. Okay, hope I answered your question, Niyati. Okay, Arun sir, your voice and actions are not matching in the video. Is there a lag if anyone is seeing? Okay.
No, sir. Now it is correct.
Okay. So which one to learn, Perl or Tickle? Which is the industry trend? Hemant, sir, can I know what are your research area, particular domain in VLSI? Okay. So first question is that whether to learn Perl or Tickle. See, I'll say that Tickle is used more than Perl, but Perl is also very easy to learn, right? So I will say that learn both if you have time, because if you consider that how much time a person needs to learn these scripts, I will say 1 week per skill per language, right? You can learn Perl in 1 week. You can learn Perl in Tickle in 1 week. So in 1 week, you will not be an expert, and that is not an expectation of a recruiter, right? So the expectation of is that you are familiar with these languages, right? So in 1 week, what you will be learning is that can you write a simple program which can do simple tasks like finding whether a number is prime or not, right? Can you write a for loop? Can you write a if statement, right? Can you read anything from a file and print it on the screen? Can you iterate over the entry of the file and do find search whether a name was there in a file or not, right? These are very simple tasks which you can learn in 1 week, according to me, because all these things are away. If you know at least one programming language, right? The condition is that if you don't know any programming language, then probably it will take, say, 4 months to learn, right? Because learning your first programming language takes time. It may be 4 months, 6 months, or 1 year. But once you know any programming language, learning the next programming language becomes very. So assuming that you know any programming language, your learning Perl or Tickle both shouldn't take more than 1 week to know the basic concepts, right? What are the basic way to write a variable, assign a variable value, read it, print it on screen, read from file, and do some manipulation. That is what the familiarity means. So you should be familiar in both the languages. That will be my suggestion. Okay. Second question is about me, right? So what I can do probably is I can share my website. Okay. If you don't know, so I'm sending the, or in the chat box, I am giving the link of my website. Okay. So you can click over it, and you can search by my name, you will get this website, right? And on this website, I have listed out what are my area of interest, right? Where I want to work, what are my expectation if someone wants to work with me as a PhD student. And I have some openings in the PhD students, right? So if the student is good enough in the domain of my interest, I am looking for good PhD students, right? And the student should be the interested in research, right? Not just as a stopgap arrangement that you have not got a job, then you want to do a PhD. I don't want that kind of student to work with me, right? So if you are interested, you can drop me an email. My email address can be found over this website, which I've mentioned here. Or if you search by my name, you'll get my website of IIIT Delhi, where my profile is there. From there, you can get to this link. Okay. So hope that answers your question, Hemant. Shivraj again. Okay, sir, what should be our next step after completion of this course? So I will say that you should practice those skills. Try to take a bigger design from RTL to GDS, right? Even though you don't write RTL, you can use sources like ChatGPT and download from somewhere other places to get an RTL, because your main focus is not to be writing a good RTL or a correct RTL, but practice on the flow from RTL to GTS, right? Then you can take that a complicated RTL for synthesis, right? Then timing analysis, then DFT insertion, then physical design using open road, open lane, and those kind of things, right? So that should be your second step, right? And then you should also learn about things which are not discussed in this course. For example, functional verification using system Verilog, and those kind of things could also be the next step. Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah. So Indu, I am not interested in coding, sir. Analog openings, please discuss, sir. For gap people, is there any scope in analog? So the problem with analog, Indu, is that the number of job openings are comparatively less than the digital, right? So that is a fact, right? Because the number of people required in analog part in an industry is typically much lower than the number of people required in digital domain, right? And that is a fact. And if you are trying to be specific in analog domain, then I think then there will be more challenge, right? So my suggestion will be that keep your mind open, and because if you are thinking, if you have a gap in your CV, right, then the hiring becomes more difficult, right? The getting hired become more difficult, right? And if you keep your choices also limited, then it becomes much more challenging, right? So my suggestion will be broaden score scope, and that will increase your hireability. Okay. Narayan, sir, soon I am going to join AMD as an intern in PD CAT, right? Division. What all the skills should I revise? Okay. So why don't you ask someone in AMD? Is Narayan there? Okay. So my suggestion will be, the first thing you should ask the person in the AMD, someone in AMD, your friend, your seniors, or someone who can help you know that what exactly is the requirement, right? If not, then I'll say that the in the physical design PD, I hope you mean by physical design, right? So you should revise your concepts related to physical design, placement, routing, clock tree synthesis, which are discussed in this course, and also sharpen your skill on tickle, right? Because I think a tickle will be required in creating scripts which might be being used by AMD, right? So you should revise your skills on placement and routing. You should revise your skills on static timing analysis, and you should revise your skills on tick, right? That will be the top three I will mention. Okay. Sir, after sign off, what are input files required to generate GDS2? Using which tool in this course? So see that after you do sign off, the output is a GDS, right? So the GDS, so whichever physical design tool you have used, that tool will itself generate a GDS. There will be some command to write a GDS stream, right? You can run that command and you will have a GDS file which can be given to the foundry for fabrication, right? So it is not that after sign off we need to have a GDS file. Once you have verified everything, the GDS you can generate it using the uh, the um, the implementation tools, right? So Kiran, are you there? I'm not getting your question. Maybe you meant something else.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello, sir.
Kiran.
Yes, sir.
Did I answer your question, or what you meant by your question? You can explain.
So after I sign off, I get a few files, dev files, verilog files. So I want to generate a .gds file.
Right.
How can I do that?
So there'll be some command in the tool to write in the GDS file. There can be a command of streaming, right? Stream out command or something in which the format can be specified as GDS or there. So please look into the specific tool which you are using. In that particular tool, there'll be some option to stream out a GDS file.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I think I have answered all the questions. One question is, QWERTY. Sir, can you mention all the tools from SDL coding level to synthesis and STA netlist to placement? Okay, so QWERTY is trying to give me an assignment after all the assignments I have given, right? So why not you do this, QWERTY? QWERTY, are you there? Even your name is very QWERTY. Why don't you type your real name? So I will suggest that this can be done by you, right? And you can take it as an assignment. And from the first lecture to the last lecture and all the tutorials, you can find out the name of the tools that are mentioned, right? Yasina, hi sir, can we access the NPTEL site later after exams also? So all the videos are available over YouTube, right? Yasina, so you can access all the videos if you meant by accessing the NPTEL site. Yasina, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you want access to the videos, right?
Yeah, videos as well as the tools also, sir. If you are using it, any doubts are there?
So tools
Then
are all open source. You can download it, right?
yeah.
So those
Yes,
are
sir.
open source. Those will depend on the sites from where you are downloading. If they stop giving a download permission, we cannot do anything, right? So I will suggest that whatever tools we have shown in tutorial, download and keep it with you, right? Why to depend on those websites?
Oh, okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you, sir.
lectures are available to everyone over YouTube, right? Hope you know that. Okay, so I'm also giving you a site where I have listed down all the yeah.
Sir, hello, sir.
Yeah, yes.
Sir, one more question.
Yes,
Hello.
please go on.
Hello.
Please go on, Yasina. You had some question?
Hello, sir. Hello, can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, please ask.
Sir, can you explain that required time once more, sir?
I will go over that. Okay, first let me give you the link of the YouTube lectures which are always which are available, right? So this link is there on my website also, but you can take this link and copy, and because here I have listed down all the NPTEL videos and lectures which I have we have of this course, right, which will be helpful to you all. Okay, that is one thing. And the other thing is you are asking to describe required time, right? So required time, there are two types of required time. One is for the setup, right, analysis, and other is the hold analysis, right? For the for the setup case, the required time is a time. This is a time before which the signal should arrive, right? So you are saying that there is a time, for example, 1000 picosecond, whatever the time is. That time is the time by which the signal should arrive. If it arrives before this, it is fine. Slack will be positive. If it arrives after that, then there is a problem, there is a timing violation, and slack will be negative. So required time is giving me a requirement from the setup perspective that what is the value of the time before which a signal should reach at a given point, right? Is that fine, Yasina?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now, the second part is the hold, for the hold analysis, right? Now, for the setup, it was that the arrival time should be before the required time, right? But for hold check happens for the same clock edge. For the setup time, the setup check, the hold, sorry, for the setup analysis, the check happens at the next clock edge. This is the launch and the next, right? But for the hold analysis, what happens is that the check happens on the same clock, right? So the launch is happening and the check happens at the same clock. So in the hold check, the requirement is that there is a hold time or hold requirement time, and the arrival time should be after that. Signal should not come before it, right? So from the hold analysis perspective, the hold requirement is the time after which signal should arrive, right? If it arrives before that, then there will be a hold problem, meaning that the signal can be kept launched, the data that which was launched in current cycle, it may get captured in the current cycle itself by the capture flip-flop, and that will disrupt the synchronous behavior. So for the setup analysis, the required time is giving a time before which the signal should arrive, and for the hold analysis, the required time is giving me a time after which the signal should arrive, right? Did you understand, Yasina?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Yes, please go on.
Sir, I am having a doubt in this one. For example, if maximum operating frequency for a particular setup time, or you can consider as an hold time. So if we consider hold time as well, because if for maximum operating frequency we are considering only setup time, means we are neglecting the whole time for setup calculation. But if we are if we
Not
are
for setup calculation. For setup calculation, we take into account the clock period, right?
yes, clock period. Correct, clock period. For that only, sir, clock period. So we are calculating the maximum operating frequency. But if we introduce whole time as well, then what will be the concept for that?
See, the whole time cannot be introduced for a clock. If the whole time can, first you should understand that what is the meaning of hold requirement, right? Okay. So the fold requirement, and what is the meaning of setup requirement? The setup requirement says that data is launched in this clock edge, it must be captured in the next clock edge. That is the setup requirement. The hold requirement says that the data is launched in this clock edge. The data shouldn't be captured in the same clock edge, right? So you see that there is a gap of clock period in the setup requirement, but there is no gap of clock period in the hold requirement, right? And therefore, in the hold requirement, the clock period cannot come. You understand why the hold requirement doesn't have a clock period? The basic reason is that the check says that the data which is launched in the particular clock edge shouldn't be captured in the same clock edge, and therefore there is no distance between these two events of one clock period, and therefore period is not there, right?
Okay, sir. Okay, yes.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Completely.
Okay. So let me see if there are more questions. Sir, are you proving PD course also in NPTEL? Not at this point of time, but maybe 3-4 years down the line, I may do. First, I need to take this course at least for 3 years at my institute. Then I can launch it to the NPTEL, right? Sir, what are the missing topics in the course which need to focus on front-end and back-end development? So the missing thing is functional verification using system Verilog. This is some area which, if you get time, please look into that, because there are lots of job opening in this area, system Verilog and functional verification. So we have not gone in detail in that area. And in many of the topics, we didn't go into depth, right? The purpose of this course was to cover the breadth, right? And at some point, we had to sacrifice the depth of the topic to complete the course in 12 weeks, right? So wherever you get chance, go deeper into each of the topics, either through the books which I have referred to, or through some other study materials, right? That will be helpful. Okay. QWERTY. Okay, sir. Okay, Shubham. Hello. Sir, can you share some interview questions which they ask for RTL to GDS flop? Flop, just for flip flop you are worried about, right? So most of the assignment questions and things that are discussed in the NPTEL lectures are coming out from from interviews, or or most of them are potential interview questions, right? So I have been taking interview a lot whenever I got a chance when I was in industry to go into the campus and so on. So many of the questions which are typically asked in interview, I have covered in my lecture, right? Not explicitly saying that this is an interview questions, but if you go through them carefully, you will get answers to those questions, right? So I will say that again, I will not explicitly mention question and answer because I think that is not a correct way of passing knowledge or information. The onus should be on the student to assimilate that information and have an organized understanding in your brain so that you can you can answer whatever questions are asked, not only the questions which I tell you, but if it is done in a different manner, then also you are able to answer the question, right? So you shouldn't depend on actually questions and answers. Those are kind of spoon feeding, and I think those are not a good way of teaching and learn, right? So I think that better way will be going through the lectures which I have, which are there again and again, and from them you can prepare your own list of interview questions, right? And that will help you much better, right? That is a better way to learn. Is it fine, Shubham? Okay. Sir, Avijit Pandey. Sir, I want to do PhD. How can I connect with you? So please look into the website of IIIT Delhi. There is currently open admission process going on, right? So the I think a few days back it has started the admission the application process. So you can apply through the portal or whatever link is there over IIIT website. And once you are you make an application, then it is it will be processed. Your eligibility will be checked. If you are eligible, then and your profile matches the interests of the faculty, then you will be called for the interview, right? And then the selection will happen. And so these are the process, right? And you can anyway send email to me. My email address is there over on the website and so on. So if you want to just to connect, you can always connect with me over email. Okay. So Indu Shiva. Piyush, sir, please keep at least one more live interaction session before our exam date. It would be helpful for us. So I think we don't have sufficient time. It is already today is 18th, right? And the exam is on 25th or 26th of this month, right? So we don't have much scope. You can anyway ask your question over the forum. I'll be happy to answer those questions. So if you have doubt, please feel free to ask questions. Sir, can this course will be in Jan, April? Most probably not. So this is offered once a year, so it will not be offered, right? As I have not filled the form for exam. So I think that there are no more questions, right? If there is anyone who wants to ask question directly, can ask right now. Okay, so I think there are no more questions. We have overshoot the time by 1 hour. Okay, so thank you very much to all the participants for having a very good interactive session. Okay, all the best for your exam. Okay, so I am now disconnecting. Thank you very much. Bye. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.